the series The Last of Us and what we really thought about it. So I'm gonna let you go and start off and tell me what you thought about the show. I have my own perspective, and I think we've discussed it a lot, but love to hear what your deeper take is on The Last of Us, what you thought of the show, would you recommend it, so on and so forth, etc.
Sure, sure. And I'll just start by saying I really do love everything that HBO produces show-wise. I mean, they just have a different lock on the game when it comes to producing content show-wise. And it's originals, right? Like Game of Thrones, great show. Yeah, it had its fall off, but the quality that is being produced, top tier. I mean, there's a few others, right, that I could go name, True Detective, whatever, so on and so forth. So
Classic.
they have a very good rapport with shows that I like. With that being said, the nuance and just the freshness of The Last of Us was really captivating. It had me suckered in those first, 2, 3 episodes, and I was really excited to see where they're going to go with the series. And unfortunately, I think they did fall a little flat personally for me. Slowed down way, and for a zombie show, I didn't see nearly enough zombies. And I don't want to be the harshest critic. It's the first season, so they had to do a lot of character development and world building. But what they did do well was like when they did show the zombies, man, I love that shit. That shit had me on the edge of my seat. I was super excited to see what was going to happen next. And they just got very melodramatic with it. Seeing Ellie's backstory really did actually make me care for the character Ellie a lot more than I originally did. So I think they did a good job on
Sure.
that. And I really did like the dynamic that Pedro Pascal and the actor that plays Ellie had. They're a pretty good dynamic duo. I don't want to rip on the show too much. I would definitely recommend it as far as zombie shows go, but I would
Ella
definitely
Ramsey, by the way, is the
Bella
actress.
Ramsey. Yes. I would definitely preference it with you know, just for a zombie show, it's very melodramatic. But I would definitely
Sure.
recommend it because, like I said, I love HBO original produced shows, and
Nice, nice. I like the take, and I think it was a very optimistic and positive take. But every episode is like a varying amount of minutes. Like the first episode's an hour and 20 minutes. I just wish that every episode was like an hour and 20 minutes. Because just like you, I was reeled in on those first two episodes. When You're Lost in the Darkness, episode one, and Infected. I think the episode two was a little bit more exciting for me and really drew me in because it actually showed you what I wanted to see, which was like the zombies coming and the explosion of. Sorry
Mhm.
if this is any spoilers. Like Pedro Pascal's girlfriend at the time, getting bit and having to sacrifice herself in the second episode for them to continue on.
Mhm.
To me, that was epic. Where you see the zombies run in, the zombie like makes out with her, which is such a weird scene. I'm sure that that's going to come back further in the season as well, where it's like, why is this zombie like she's already infected? You see that zombie go in for like a French kiss as the whole thing explodes. Like that was such an
Sure.
interesting part of the episode.
Well,
But
I
regardless,
think they already explained it in episode when we are in need, episode 8 with the cannibals. He said I didn't find faith in God, I found it in cordyceps, right? Which is the fungi. And essentially he was kind of breaking it down. He's like cordyceps like live to grow and evolve, right? And it's all about just spreading the cordyceps, and that's what they do. So I think the kissing is a form of spreading it, if I had
but
to assume.
wasn't she already infected?
She
She was
got
already infected, so it
bitten.
wasn't already spread. Maybe
Yeah.
it takes some more time. I don't know.
Well, this is what.
Regardless,
Go
I'm just
ahead.
saying the first two episodes to me were very well done from a
Sure.
cinematography standpoint, the action standpoint, what I wanted from a zombie apocalypse show, covering what happened, not really knowing where it originally started, then to them dropping hints at the beginning of the episodes, be like, oh, this shit's from Indonesia, right? From like that little factory.
Hmm.
Um, so I liked how they did that. I just feel like that didn't carry over to the rest of the episodes. And that's where it kind of dropped off for me was those middle episodes. Like long, long time, the third episode, that was the lowest rated episode for me because it was just like about a character that didn't really mean anything to the show. I mean, it kind of just discussed him and his lover, his boyfriend, his partner at the time, and like their life as the apocalypse was going on. But they were pretty much dead, right? Well, not pretty much that they were dead when our main
They're
protagonist came
dead.
back.
Oh, you mean as that they
When
weren't
they
in
came
the
back, yeah, they,
episode?
they were. they were in the episode. The episode 3 was all about them. It's their
Sure.
life.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I just don't see how it really panned out into the whole scheme of the show. Where it's like, I mean, you made a whole episode for them, but I just didn't really care. I was like, I want to see some zombies. I want to see what's happening. I want to see them on their journey. So episode 3 was a big drop for me. And looking at it all, I mean, I didn't rate anything higher than an 8. And that was the thing that kind of got me was the last episode. Look for the light. The finale ends up being the shortest episode, timing in at 43 minutes. When the first episode was an hour 20. It was like you would think the finale would be just as long as the intro episode, where maybe you're doing the backstory, you're building it up, and then the ending scene where my man Pedro Pascal's going fucking Rambo. You would drag that off to make it more epic, but they just didn't really do that. It's kind of like anticlimactic to me. Like he just goes Rambo and just goes straight through a whole base of people like nothing.
Well, listen, I think there's something to doing
So I give it a
something.
7.3
I
overall.
I think there's something cinematic about doing something short and making sure that it's crafted well, as opposed to doing like this long shootout that's terribly choreographed, right? You can't really afford it post
Yeah.
production, and the CGI looks all gimmicky. Like you would rather go the
Ain't no
safe route.
CGI in that. Ain't no CGI. These are people.
I mean, when you're shooting the gun and the nozzle flash is going off, that's CGI. They're not actually shooting a gun in a hospital. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think that's real, Alejandro? You think they're actually shooting those guns? Maybe some
But when
blades.
you reference CGI, you're not going to be referencing. That's not what people reference as
All,
CGI.
all, all all
One.
I'm saying is like I think there's something tasteful about it as far as like do it well, as opposed to do it half-ass and do it long. I'm like give us a big shootout. But I do understand what you're saying as far as like
I'm
the
saying you didn't have to
timing
take
goes.
away from the action though. You could have just made it an hour long episode rather than the shortest episode you made out of the whole season and just could have expanded it a little bit. I want a little bit more action. That's all I'm saying. And that's what I feel like was the general feel for me throughout the whole season was like, I just wanted a little bit more. And I know that the game's not about that. It's more about being sneaky and it's more about making the decisions you make. So, like I said, this review comes from someone who does not play the game, is just watching it for the content that's right in front of them. I just wanted a little more. So I give it a 7.3. If you look at my average score per episode, which I ranked every one of them, it's like a 6.9, my mean average rating. So my rating, personal rating, and the average rating are pretty close. And I would say I think it's fair. We both agreed 7.3. So I think it's a must see, but I think it does lack in some factors, right? Some facets of being excited when you see a
Well,
show.
I think you kind of once again, had the perfect quote summarization for this. Is it just leaves you wanting more, as far and it's not a good way of wanting more, like give me more, but it's almost like I'm starving, I'm deprived of it. Like give me more zombies because I don't have enough, right? Uh so I mean, yeah, I mean that's a good way to summarize it. And for you guys that can't see, Dro did take a wonderful, beautiful time out of his day to rate all of these episodes. Gave him a rating. But you know, personally, I went through and watched all of them, even watched some of them twice. And yeah, I mean, there's some really good episodes in there, some really good character development, story building, cinematography, especially. Um, I love that saying that they have, like, but you can't deny that view, and they're just kind of like looking over a little like scenic shot. And it was pretty cool that they got a real draft in there, even though I will say personally the draft looked completely CGI to me. So I know the internet heard that uproar. They're like, is it real? Is it fake? And they're like, yo, that was a real draft. But
What
yeah,
draft?
draft, like a animal
A
in the
giraffe. Oh, a
yes,
giraffe.
in the final
But I
episode,
said a
they feed.
draft. I was like a fantasy draft, like
Yeah, you're
a
like,
football
yo, rough
draft,
drafts? I was like, no,
a
no, no,
rough
no.
draft.
A giraffe.
Giraffe. Wow.
Giraffe.
I didn't
Sorry.
even think about that CGI or not. Probably. I mean,
But I
again,
mean, yeah, I
I
thought it was
mean,
an overall good episode, very tastefully done. One thing I think they could do a little bit better in the next season is maybe explain the zombies a little bit more as well. Like we didn't really get a breakdown on the zombies, and I know they do that in the game as well, right? Like I've seen a few like breakdowns on YouTube and whatnot, but it's like there's different types of zombies, right? And I think kind of harpering back to our point when the thing French kissed the girl in the second episode was maybe he was like trying to spread it, and there's spreaders, right? There's things that spread the virus and then things that just eat you. I don't know how this works, and that's what I'm saying is they didn't do a good job in explaining what those quadriceps do coming out of the mouth. So I mean, there's definitely some cool things that they could touch on, and hopefully they ramp up the zombies in season 2. One thing I do know about shows is the first season is probably like the most least funded because it is an idea getting off the ground and going. And as the show
Sure.
gains popularity, it will get bigger, better, bolder.
More and
Right.
more epic as it goes.
Right. Viewers, please don't do this. And don't compare The Walking Dead to this because they are two completely different zombie shows, right? In two completely different time periods. But if you did have to compare the two, Walking Dead season 1 does take the cake. Just
Takes
saying,
the
just
cake.
saying.
That thing is so epic.
As far as
Let's
like
be
a
real.
zombie show, you know what I'm saying? Like doing
But
zombies well.
I
And
just liked how
Walking
Walking
Dead
Dead
couldn't.
always there was suspense of there might be a fucking zombie around. This show, it's like, guess the zombies just nowhere to be found. Like we just walk through the whole planet and we'll never run into zombies. It's like I get that they took over urban, suburban city areas, but it's like they're nowhere. Like, did they take over the whole world? Like you're walking through town in the wilderness, and
Mhm.
it's like, where are the fucking zombies? You think you'd see one or two?
And I think that's one of the most interesting parts of a zombie apocalypse is
Fucking zombies.
the downfall of society. I like to see the shit go into the dirt, right? Like that's the exciting part. And we got that in episode 1, and I was super excited for episode 1. And then even the little snippet, the intro that they did in the beginning of episode 2, where they kind of show you this outbreak happening, and it's like, oh man, we're gonna see society collapse in flashbacks. And then they completely pivoted away from that
Yeah, they pivoted
idea.
away.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like, bro, I want to see more of that. Like, I want to see the downfall. I want to see what happened in these past 20 years. I know a lot of stuff happened, but we're kind of just getting
Mhm.
into this, and it's like, you're right. We don't see no zombies. There's no threat of zombies, and in The Walking Dead. But
Well, essentially, the whole middle of the season was just how can we make Ellie and Pedro Pascal's character right grow closer, and you see the bond develop. When the
well,
first
that's
episodes
what
were
the whole
focused on what's
story is about.
happening, you
That's what the
know.
whole story is about. It's not
Yeah.
about zombies. It's about the relationship between a grieving
Mhm.
father and a girl that's never had a family, right? And like her looking for a family. So I mean, I get it. It's much deeper than that, and it's not the same story as The Walking Dead, but
We gotta stop comparing the two. They're just different, like you said.
different.
But overall, I guess I just didn't care about the Pedro Pascal and
Ellie
what
relationship.
Ellie Ramsey's relationship. I was just like,
Belly,
I want
Bella.
Bella Ramsey, excuse me. It's relationship. I just wanted more of the zombies. And if you actually look at my rating per episode, so anyone who's listening and viewing this right now can understand. Maybe Dro's just a dumbass, but my top rated ones were all the ones with the action, with the zombies, or the last one was the highest rated one for me, where there was right the Rambo scene with him going off.
Hmm.
So all my favorite episodes were the ones where there was some type of action going on.
Sure.
So that's how I rated it. But 7.3, I think that's a fair rating for the show. It's a show you should see. It's a show that most will enjoy. But keep in mind, if you're comparing this to anything or having expectations of Walking Dead, I think you're going to be sadly mistaken. So you got to enjoy for what it is. You got to enjoy for its new take on a zombie apocalypse. And if you're a game player, you probably love the show because from what I have heard, they have done it very similar and well done in comparison to the game. You actually know that first scene where they're showing how Bella Ramsey became immune. The mother in that scene where she's a flashback, that's actually the girl who did Ellie in the game.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. No, definitely, definitely, definitely. That was really cool how they did tie in some characters from the game into the
Mm-hmm.
show. That was pretty cool. But all right,
Yeah.
so yeah, wrapping up the pod. Essentially episode 0.5, the Dak and
New
Dro
Hope.
pod. New Hope, Hizations. We have yet to actually find a working title, so for now we're just fucking around and playing with the idea of what could be, right?